Where in the Folk is not and should not be viewed as a news source. Any names, places, or likenesses mentioned are purely fictional, and any information discussed is purely speculative. Guest opinions are their own and do not reflect those of anyone else. Where in the Folk is not responsible for content accuracy of any stories that are told or what people do with these stories. This show is vulgar, sometimes graphic, and due to its content, it should not be viewed by anyone actually.
Welcome to another episode of Where in the Folk, and thank you all for joining us here on this Saturday evening. This is guaranteed to be a banger of an episode. I'm Cecil. We got Tolly and Steven with us, and our special guest. One of the first guests I ever spoke with when I was brand new to this whole thing, Vic Ferrari, author, podcaster, former New York Police Department detective, and probably one of the funniest people I've ever talked to.
Hey, Vic.
The thing that always reminds me of you is the first episode we had. I was like, tell us a really good story. You told a horrific story, but it was still hilarious.
Well, guys, thank you so much for having me on the show tonight. I really appreciate it. This is our third or fourth interview over the years, and I always enjoy being a guest on your show.
Yeah, we like to have a good time. It's always a good time.
Yeah, and you have a new book out, is that right? We'll go ahead and get straight into that.
I average a book a year. My last book I released, last October, NYPD, Presumption and Dysfunction. As you can see, everyone's dressed up nice, and then you got the one slob on the end wearing stickers, which is basically the New York City Police Department. And like all my books, they're just short stories of a behind-the-scenes look in the New York City Police Department with things that people don't know what goes on.
Yeah, and this is, and if you want to go ahead and go buy this is on Amazon right now. You can search Vic Ferrari and go check it out. I was looking through the catalog and I was like, oh no, I've missed 2 or 3 books. I've got 5 of them in there.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I've got Dickheads and Debauchery, Grand Theft Auto, Through the Looking Glass, I think.
Yeah.
And a couple more. Confessions, I think, of a Catholic schoolboy.
Yeah, Confessions.
Yeah.
I think Confessions was the last book that we talked to you about.
Yep.
That sounds about right, because we were talking off air. It was probably about 2 years, right, since the last time we spoke?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So what have you been up to since the last time we spoke with you?
I mean, I average a book a year, so I'm always putting stories together and jotting them down, and then I kind of get to like a 50-page manuscript, and then I send it off to the editor. That's where I am with my next book. But about 2 years ago, I said, I'm fascinated. During COVID, podcasts took off, as you guys know.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Let me see if I can do it. So I started the NYPD Through the Looking podcast, and I do that once a week. I try to average an episode a week, and I bring on retired NYPD members from different units to tell their stories and funny stories. And then it's kind of morphed into, now I'm bringing in cops from different police departments that want to tell their stories. And like we were talking off air, I had a licensed mortician come on once and tell stories about
That's awesome.
At a funeral. Man, that guy, I hope I can get that guy booked on your show. You guys will be laughing your asses off. And if I don't have a guest, I'll string together a couple of stories from my NYPD career.
Nice. So, the name of the podcast is NYPD Through the Looking Glass podcast, correct?
Yeah.
Available.
One of my books.
They're treating you a lot better than they are us.
Is that YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, YouTube is just like Amazon. It's like, people say to me, oh, well, why don't you have your books printed? I'm like, listen, Amazon is, if you're going to write books and you're going to sell books, it's the biggest and baddest cat out there. Mm-hmm. And it's like making a deal with the devil, but you'll make the most bang for your buck. But again, you got to watch. There's restrictions on things. And the same goes with YouTube. And you guys know that as podcasters, you can make decent money with YouTube, but they're gonna be watching your every move.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we've actually so we were looking at getting a guest. It's this guy who is using alternative methods to make healthy bee populations. And it's like he's using a combo of like electromagnetic frequencies and sound frequencies, and reached out to him about getting him on to talk about the honey and stuff. And that's how we ended up with our first sponsorship.
Yep.
So we're actually talking to him next week live. And as of, I think, yesterday, we, kind of announced the partnership there between all of us.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So, like we've always done before, is there anything out of this new book, like any short story you can tell us to get people to, like, one that's not going to ruin the
No, I'll tell stories from my books. I'm just finishing a story for my next book coming out is NYPD Behind the Blue Wall of Silence. But a friend told me this story and I couldn't stop laughing. And I go, I'm putting this in my book. This is just like too good to tell. So every NYPD cop hates working the New Year's Eve detail in Times Square for a lot of reasons. All right. So first of all, it's cold. You're freezing your ass off. They want you down in uniform. So you're all bundled up. You're carrying all that equipment, right? And on top of it, it's New Year's Eve. You want to be out with your family, right? You don't want to be standing out there with drunks. So the average NYPD cop, you get down there like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you don't get done until that crowd disperses, right? So it's a 12-hour day, easy. And they're all over your ass. It's not like you can disappear and hide because they've got all the supervisors in the world down there and they don't want anything going wrong. And like when you're watching on TV, right, and they show from high above and you're like, oh, look at that. It's that row of people. They're packed in there like fucking cattle, okay? So each block has 2 pens and they're fed into these wooden barriers. And good luck going to the bathroom because all the restaurants there, unless you got reservations, they've had their restaurants trashed before. So they're not letting you in. So people are pissing, shitting, changing tampons, throwing up on each other, all sorts of shit. And you feel so bad for them, but it's like you put yourself in this situation, like you'll see them in the crowd, like, my God, there's a woman throwing up on my back. I'm like, dude, what do you want me to tell you? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not EMS. So, and then it gets worse because after the ball drops, right? Now the barriers come apart. All the hood rats from Brooklyn, Harlem, they're sober as judges. They pop up off the trains, and it's like watching the Animal Planet. It's like you'll see the hood rats, right? And they're all just like the hyenas. And they're just kind of watching. And they're watching the drunks. And this guy's wearing a Rolex. This guy's got a gold chain. This one's got an iPhone 18 or whatever the fuck they're up to now. And then what they do is they follow them a couple of blocks away. And then they'll fuck them up. Take their shit, right? And then you're standing there. Oh, a guy will come over with like a knot on the side of his head, and they fucked me up. They took my watch and like, what do you look like? I don't know. They were wearing hoodies. I'm like, I'll take them for it, but I mean, good luck. They're gone. So there's a lot of that shit going on, and nobody really wants to work that detail. And the thing is, the NYPD knows this, and they send between 7,000 and 10,000 cops down there for New Year's Eve detail. And no one wants to work it. So usually what will happen is a couple of days before, they don't tell you you're going until like the last minute because they don't want guys, the blue flu starts popping up, guys start, people come down with these mysterious injuries that no one saw them get hurt. You know, all having babies, they're not answering the phone. So like, it's like process service. Like they fuck you at the last second, like you're going. Anyway, my friend was a sergeant in a Manhattan precinct, and his lieutenant comes up to him and he says, hate to do this to you. You got to go tomorrow to New Year's Eve. So he's pissed. And the lieutenant goes, but it's not that bad. You're not actually going to be where the ball drops. You're not going to be on Broadway. You're not going to be on 42nd Street. He goes, where are you sending me? He goes, there's some kind of concert at Madison Square Garden. It should be an easy night. So my friend goes, well, who's the band? And he goes, I don't know, Fish? And he goes, Fish? What the fuck is a Fish? He goes, I don't know. It's Live and Let Live, hippie music shit. Like, he didn't know. And neither does my friend. My friend's a big fan of country music. So he doesn't know Fish from the Grateful Dead from a hole in the head. So he goes down there on New Year's Eve, and they put him right in front of Madison Square Garden, right? And he gets assigned 8 rookie cops, like just out of the police academy, which is a good thing because the old timers, you got a bunch of cops with 7, 8, 10 years, they're going to vanish on you. Yeah, boss, I'm just going to use the bathroom. They don't come back an hour later. You know what I mean? They're sitting in their cars. Like rookies are going to stand there like wooden Indians in a cigar shop. So my friend's like, perfect. So he says, about an hour before the concert, again, he knows nothing about fish. All of a sudden, these fucking people start popping up. They're on acid. They're drunk. They're in their tie-dye shirts. Fights are breaking out. They're throwing up between cars. They're pissing between cars. What the fuck, right? So they go into the garden and things quiet down. So pretty much for the first couple hours, he's got an easy night because all the shit's going on inside Madison Square Garden. He's outside in front of the building. So a deputy inspector comes by about 10:30, 11 o'clock. He says, listen, about a half hour, 15 minute, whatever. He goes, the concert's letting out. He goes, so I want your guys out there for crowd control. And he goes, all right. Concert ends, and a sea of people just come flooding out. It's New Year's Eve. They're all stoned and on acid and drunk. And the shit hits the fan. It's just full-blown riot. And NYPD, they call it hats and bats. So if you get a notification to go to a parade and demonstration, it'll say hats and bats. That means helmets and nightsticks, right? So it was hats and bats. So, and they were using their hats and bats, like just like clubbing people and get the fuck out of here, right? Clearing people out. But they could not, there was not enough of them to handle this crowd. So what they did was they called in the mounted unit. Now, the mounted unit, you want to see people get the fuck away from a crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
Call in those horses, and those horses, all right, if you get in the horse's way, what's going to happen? You're going to get stamped on by a Clydesdale, right? Or what the mounted cops do is, I can't think of the name of it. I think it's called sidestepping or something. They make the horse go sideways. When that horse's ass hits people, tell you, it launches people on their heads. Like that horse's ass goes sideways, and I've seen people get cracked, and they go knocking across, spilling across the floor, right? So now the horse is winning, right? So now it's like that old age question, man versus horse. Horse wins. So horses are knocking people around, right? The fish fans like, all right, fuck this. They start going into Penn Station. They start leaving, right? So basically, it's just a couple of stragglers hanging around, right? So there's a mounted cop sitting on his horse. He's adjusting his helmet, and this guy that's whacked out on acid comes walking up to him and the horse. He looks up and he goes, you motherfucker, I tore my pants. So the cop's just looking at him laughing, right? The guy turns around and didn't like that the cop was laughing at him and the horse. Turns around and cold cocks the horse in the side of the head like Mongo. What was that, Blazing Saddles? But the horse didn't fall, right? So just as the cop is going to whip out his nightstick and give the guy a wood shampoo and lather up his head in blood, there's a bunch of sanitation workers on overtime. So they have sanitation with tons of sanitation workers on overtime on New Year's Eve. And what they do is they clean up all the confetti when all that crap falls down. They sweep it up and they come in with like a Zamboni, a land Zamboni that sucks that shit up. And they clean up after the horses because the horses are crapping all over the place, right? The sanitation workers on overtime see the guy crack the horse. They come running over with their broomsticks and start beating the fuck out of the guy like sanitation workers. Tuning this guy up, right? Giving him a good old-fashioned kick in the ass. And they drag the guy, after they're done fucking him up, they drag him over to the curb and throw him like the garbage, right? And before anybody can do anything, and another fish fan tried to intervene, and they cracked him across the back of the head with a broomstick, and he took off running, right? So anyway, the sanitation workers know they fucked this guy up. They don't want to be involved in this. They disappear into the crowd, right? So that deputy inspector that's running around like a chicken without a head sees this guy caught the tail end of the beating before the sanitation workers took off into the crowd. So he runs up to my friend, the sergeant. He goes, Sergeant, what the fuck just happened? Now, my friend knows what happened, but he doesn't want to get involved in this. He's like, what are you talking about? He goes, I just saw a bunch of sanitation workers kick the shit out of that guy. He goes, I didn't see anything, right? He goes, we're gonna have to look for these guys. And my buddy's like, yeah, okay. You know, but okay, yeah, sure. So this deputy inspector leans down to the guy in the curb who's starting to come to now, right? And he goes, son, who did this to you? And the guy goes, go fuck yourself, right? So now you just abused him, right? So the deputy inspector gets up and he's like, Sergeant, fill out an 80 card, which is like you would do when someone's injured. So my buddy, the sergeant, goes, okay. So what winds up happening is the guy comes to and he goes, you okay? And he goes, oh man, I did too much acid. And he goes, what are you talking about? He goes, I imagine punching a horse in the head and sanitation men came out of nowhere. These guys in green suits, they beat the fuck out of me and my hand hurts and my pants are ripped. So my buddy goes, well, just take it easy. He goes, next year I'm not doing no more than 2 drops of acid next year. That's it.
Good Lord.
That's this concert. They do it like every New Year's Eve.
That's funny.
Well, yeah. Well, I've always heard that people, like the participants in the New Year's Eve stuff, they all have to wear like Depends because of what you were saying.
I would believe that. I would definitely believe it. But how much fun can you have?
You're just out there like pissing on
why not spend the night in a nursing home and call it a day, right?
I mean, I've been drunk enough in my youth to where I probably should have wore some Depends, honestly. More than one time.
Yeah, never that bad.
I've been that bad a few times.
Man, oh man. So how difficult is it actually catching a criminal in New York City?
Oh, it's easy. Are you
Really?
kidding me? Oh yeah, like when I got hired, you got to remember, I got hired in '87, right? So New York City was a shithole, and crime was through the roof. We were averaging 2,500 homicides a year. There was over 150,000 stolen vehicles a year in New York City's 5 boroughs. So if you wanted to be a cop, you could be a cop. I mean, you wanted to run around and lock people up. It was fairly easy. I mean, and as a rookie cop, right, you're not in a car right away. They would put you on foot in different neighborhoods and usually bad neighborhoods. And like, you would figure things out. Like, they're dealing drugs, right? On a corner. You got all these junkies hanging around and, depends on the neighborhood. Sometimes they'll try dealing right in front of you. But, what we would do is we would go up to the roof of a building, take off your hat because it's got that shiny cap device, and you would just watch. And you'd watch a guy hit off 2-3 guys, walk over to a car, reach underneath the car, pull out a bag, get more crack or heroin, put the bag back, hand the money to this guy, hit off another couple of guys. So what you would do is you'd watch. And then you come back downstairs and you walk right past them and they're just standing there thinking you don't know. Come here, motherfucker, grab this guy, and this guy. Then you go underneath the car and get the drugs. It was fairly easy.
Really? Okay.
Like
Well,
that up there.
And I'm sure that we've asked you this before, but like knowing that and knowing like the homicide rates and stuff at the time, like what made you be like, you know what, this is for me. Like this is what I'm gonna do.
I knew what I wanted to. I got to tell you, like I was 5 years old. I knew I wanted to become a New York City police detective. I knew at 5 years old, my grandfather broke his leg in a snowstorm and the cops brought him home. And I was a little boy. And I see these guys in the uniform, and every boy, you see that gun. It's like you just kind of focus on like, oh, I want one of those. And then as a kid, my mother used to take me to the movie theater in the neighborhood, and the movie theater was around the corner from the police station. So, my mother's taking me to see Herbie the Love Bug Part 4. I want to look inside the police cars. Like my mother was like dragging me. I'm like looking in the windows, looking at the equipment, watching how the cops handle themselves, like how they're leaning and they got their hand on the butt of their gun. And just like, I was like, oh, I'm definitely doing this. And then when I got a little older, me and my friends, we would go into the post office and steal the FBI wanted posters off the wall. And then we go around the neighborhood conducting manhunts. So you picture buttons like the Little Rascals, like a bunch of 12-year-olds with stolen wanted posters, right? There's some fucking guy getting a sandwich in a deli, and I'm holding up like Billy Ray Thornton wanted for a bank robbery in Louisiana. I'm like, this could be him. Guy just wants to get a sandwich.
Oh man,
that's wild. That'd be such a childhood. Like, I don't know, we didn't have a childhood like that in southeastern Kentucky. You couldn't walk anywhere. It'd take 10 hours to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Now I lived in a densely populated area. Like I could walk out my door and walk 100 steps, and I was on the main drag, and there was a liquor store, Chinese takeout, a beer distributor, a pork store. I mean, you didn't need a car. I mean, we did. My family had a car, but you didn't need a car. There's bakery. I mean, whatever you needed was within walking distance.
I couldn't imagine. I had to have a 4-wheeler when I was like 11 years old to go get my dad's beer from the bootlegger for him.
We had a Korean guy that's in my book, Confessions of a Catholic High School Graduate. We had a Korean guy, Mr. Kim, who owned a deli, and he would sell a nuclear warhead to Osama bin Laden. Right? So like 14, 15 years old, he'd sell us beer, right? And then every now and then the fucking cops would come around and bust his balls. Then, you know, you'd walk in one day and he'd go, "You're 21, right?" Like, I'm in my fucking Catholic high school uniform. What are you, a fucking clown? Of course not. But he'd still sell you the beer. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you got to take people at the word. You really do.
No way I could. Like, I see kids nowadays, and you know, it's a different world from like when we grew up. All the video cameras, you can't do some of this shit. We'd all be in jail if there were video cameras like the shit that we were doing.
I don't know if it's just because I've gotten older or what, but like kids that are like 18 look like children to me now.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. Like they look like they're like 12 years old. And I feel like when I was like 18, I looked like I was 40. You know,
Yeah.
I look like I do right now.
You felt that way, but
right? We weren't playing video games. We went out, we explored. Hey, let's blow this up. Hey, let's run that over. Hey, what will happen if we try this? You know what I mean? It's like we're not texting each other. We were out there, man, like doing shit. The best night, every week we would go out on garbage night, like homeless people. And we would go through people's garbage and come up with shit and we would find things we had no business getting into our hands. Like I remember one time we used to love when we would find those fucking fluorescent light bulbs, the long ones.
Yeah.
I mean, those things fucking cause cancer, but like we were cracking them up, cracking each other across the back of the head with those things, breaking that shit all over your hair.
We used to do the same thing.
I don't think kids do this. I don't think they just like kids. So in Kentucky, they recently passed a law to where you can drive when you're 15. So these 15-year-olds are getting their license, but like 16 to 20-year-olds don't want to drive. And I think they just chill out at their house. Like when I was 16 years old, I was out partying and stuff. And I think these kids are like watching TikTok or something.
Yeah, you're so right. Like I got a couple of friends with kids, and they almost had to force them to get their driver's license. Like they were reluctant. In contrast, I convinced my parents I had a permit when I didn't. And I was driving around with their car until I got grabbed. My father wanted to beat the fuck out of me. Like, you know, it's like I was driving around with his car. I had like a learner. I forget what I did, but I didn't have the paperwork that I was supposed to. And I thought, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was driving. The first time I ever had to drive, we was coming back from Tennessee, and my dad was drinking Boone's Farm wine. And on his third bottle, he pulled over and he said, "Buddy," he said, "you got to drive home." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "If you don't drive, we ain't making it." I was like, "Okay, that's how I learned how to drive."
You'll have that.
It's fun times. I miss being a kid in the 80s and 90s. It's fun.
That's a great childhood. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, you eventually worked your way up to become a detective, because you obviously don't start as a detective.
Right.
I know we've asked this before, but it's been years. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So did you prefer being a beat cop, or did you prefer being the detective? I mean, which one would be funny?
Yeah, I wanted to be a detective, and I made a lot of. I was only in uniform 5 of my 20 years. So within 5 years, I was in a precinct detail doing plainclothes work. Like we were going after pickpockets and people breaking into cars and burglaries. Then I went to narcotics. I was in the narcotics division for a while up in Harlem. And I was always a car guy. I was always getting into car chases. I knew about VIN numbers. And I was lucky enough, I wound up in the auto crime division, which I loved. And I was doing, exporting of stolen vehicles out of the country, chop shops, things like that. But yeah, I prefer being a detective. You're treated more as an adult. In uniform, like I just said, they will, even as a detective, they're going to send you to Times Square. They treat you a little bit better as a detective. A little bit.
You're allowed to stand on the outside. I mean, that's always been a fascinating way of life. Like when I was a teenager, I was on the complete opposite side. Like I guess you could call me a heathen back then, and I don't know. I know people that were cruising with me that are now cops too, though.
Yeah. Oh, I had people run into me like, I can't believe like some of the shit that we used to do as kids. Like, I can't believe, like, do like a double take. They'd see me in uniform. Like, are you kidding me? There was a teacher I couldn't stand. Actually, him and his wife, I went to summer school back-to-back years. And the NYPD, whenever there's an election in New York, they send the police to the polling locations just to avoid fights and shit. So I'm working the polls at an election location, and who do I see? The guy and his wife who sent me to summer school like 16 years earlier, right? I'm like, oh, I can't let this go, right? So I let him and his wife vote. They didn't even recognize me. Well, because I'm in uniform, walks right past me. Once they stepped out of that school, I threw my arms around him like, hey, how's it going? Long time no see. And they're just looking at me. And then like, he looks at my name tag and you see like the wheels going. He goes, oh, Vic, how are you? I'm doing fucking great. How are you guys? And like acting as nuts as I possibly can, but nice. I definitely gave them something to think about that night. I'm sure they went home like, how the fuck?
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, I don't know. Like, I couldn't imagine even living in that area, and you were like in the pits of it, like during the worst time of like some of the worst times of New York.
You adapt. You just do. It's funny. Like now, I'm out of New York City now 17 years. I mean, I've gone back a couple of times, but I haven't been back in about 13, 14 years. Like, I'd be hesitant to go to New York. You know, it's like, oh, well, that's dangerous there because I'm so far removed from it. When you grow up in it and you're a teenager running around in it, and then I became a cop in it, it didn't bother me at all. I don't know how I would deal with it now.
Well, you moved further down south. I don't know if you want to say the state. Are you okay with
Florida?
I'm sure you've seen some pretty crazy shit in Florida. That's where I grew up, and it was kind of wild. I don't think it got any better. Florida man, have you seen
Florida man's up there with some of the New York stuff for sure.
It might be a little crazy.
Well, Florida's different. Like, so after I retired from the NYPD, I became a cop down here, and it was so different from New York City. So like down here in Florida, right? We didn't carry tasers in New York. Sergeant would have one, and they were reluctant to use it. So I really had no experience with the taser. I never saw someone get tased. Part of my training as a cop in Florida, I got tased.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like, no, well, blah, blah. I mean, you can mace me all day long. I'm fine with it. I've been maced so many times. I can fight through that. That fucking taser, I did not like that. So the morning we did it, I made sure I didn't eat or drink anything because I'm like, I don't want to shit my pants. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going to happen. So what they did was they didn't shoot it at us. They taped one lead under your armpit and another one to your crotch. And it had a guy stand in the back of you. And fucking the guy goes, you want a 3-second or 5-second ride? I says, you better give me the fucking 3. And he did. And you feel the electricity pulsating through your body. And like part of me was fighting it. And I'm like, why am I fighting this? I'm not going to jail. Just throw myself on the floor and be done with it. And that's basically, but I can see how someone could fight through that if they were really strong or really drugged up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I hate to tell this story because I'm a professional now, but I did used to be crying crazy. I was on the other end of a tasing. It wasn't for training. And I like to consider myself big and strong back then, and I was doped up. It took me straight to the ground.
I've seen the police videos on YouTube though, where somebody takes like 3 of them.
Yeah.
and just keeps coming. And I'm like, that person has to be like on angel dust, if that's even a thing anymore.
No,
Like,
that's still a thing.
Just like something completely like just shutting off all those receptors.
It's funny, when I worked in narcotics, there was a dust spot up in Harlem, and I used to tell my undercovers, you can buy anything you want, don't buy that fucking dust shit, because it has such a pungent odor. It just, and I'm not talking when it has a pungent odor when it's burning, but just packaged, you'll know when it's around. You'll know it's got the worst smell in the world. And what's worse about that, dust back then would come in a little paper bag. It was a little brown bag about that big with a nickel or a dime bag of weed in a little brown little manila envelope about that big. You could get a contact tied through the paper. Just even handling that shit. So I was like,
Really?
I says, you want to buy methadone, weed, pills? I'm not dealing with that dust spot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't remember ever doing any of that when I was a teen, when I was on drugs.
No, I just mean like you've seen the videos of the people that just keep coming no matter what you do to them.
Well, now it's the bath salts.
Oh, yeah. The runoff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
did you had to deal with people doing the bath salts in Florida?
no, that's before my time. That was before my time.
That one fellow down there. Well, they said he was on bath salts. The guy that ate the person's face, turned out he wasn't.
Down in Miami, yeah.
Yeah. They said that they did a drug test on him though after he, post-mortem, but he wasn't high.
I don't think that. I don't know if they have the right test for that.
Probably not. Yeah, I'd imagine it's
so new. You know what I mean? Like, what really are you looking for?
Yeah. Well, we do. So on Fridays, we've been doing, we go live at 7 and do like basically the undercurrent of news that usually isn't like non-political undercurrent news that is sort of underreported. And there's a lot of new drugs that we talk about. And there's been at least 2 to 3 drugs in the last year that are taken off that have people are grinding up and robbing graves to grind up human bones for some of these drugs.
Yes.
It's
coming out of Africa, isn't it?
It's coming out of people are addicted to it in South Africa. But it's being exported. Like
From
people are
veins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like how Tully presented it like he's trying to sell, like, it's coming up.
It is though. And I'll see if I can find the name of it real quick. But we've talked about it. We've talked about 2 different drugs that are one of them is called crocodile.
Yeah,
for sure. And that one's crazy because the users of it's spelled like crocodile without the E, I think. Right. But the users of it, the reason it's called that, their skin starts to like scale over and fall off. Yeah. So
did that come from Brazil or something?
I think so.
I mean, the way that the world's going right now and everything anyway, like we're going to see a lot more prevalent drugs that do a lot more harsh effects. I mean, right now it's crazy with the fentanyl and stuff. I don't know. What do you?
Fentanyl was out there when I worked in narcotics. Fentanyl would rear its head every now and then. So I worked in Spanish Harlem and Washington Heights. And Spanish Harlem, a lot of heroin, a lot of dope. And every now and then they would have a series of ODs. Like you'd have like 5 or 6 or 10 overdoses in a neighborhood. And the junkies would flock to it because they knew it was really good. Like you would think someone would say, oh, like the Tylenol murders, like, no, I'm not going to buy aspirin right now because some sick fuck is putting cyanide in it. The junkies, when they heard that there was fentanyl around, like bees.
That's so weird. That's a weird mentality.
Yeah, it is. Really strange.
I don't know. So you worked into drug narcotics and stuff like that. What was the craziest scene that you ever walked up on, you think, when it comes to like busting somebody like that?
In narcotics?
Yeah.
Oh wait, before you get into it, Vic. So there was a flight attendant, and this was the sort of the tagline. So there was a flight attendant busted for carrying 100 pounds of a deadly new drug made of human bones, and she's facing decades in prison. But her name, let me see. She was arrested in the UK, and the drug is called Kush, like Kush, and it's a synthetic drug from West Africa.
Kush.
And they're looting graveyards because they're like human bone dust is a component in this.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I don't like that they named it after a weed, like some pot. There's like Kush pot. That's weird.
And this is also, so apparently it's like circulating around Thailand too. And she was coming from, let's see, I think she was picked up coming from like Sri Lanka or something, but yeah, it's more popular, I think, over there. But the crocodile stuff has made it to America. I remember seeing a couple of documentaries about that. But sorry to interrupt. I just
you're fine. I'm looking at it. I found the article. I'm going to look at it later.
Yeah.
Landa said she's thinking the same thing, Cecil.
Yeah. I mean, like when I was a drug user and like in my teens, if I went somewhere and I was like, hey, give me some Kush, that was weed. Now you're going to get human bones. That's insane.
I can't imagine that.
Right.
What does the human bones do? Like, I don't really fully understand that.
I don't know, dude. People are crazy. That sounds like a high thing. Like you're already messed up on something, and you're like, what would make this awesome?
I think you're 100% right.
Right.
100%. It kind of goes with the legacy of, well, someone said it was in there, and then you get morons like, hey, I can do that too. You know?
Yeah.
Like I'm doing drugs with human bones, like just the cool component of the drug.
Makes it up, and then some jerk off starts breaking into fucking crypts.
Right.
I actually get that because that is a high thought. Actually, now that you say that, because like we would take the legs off daddy long legs and smoke them because somebody said you get high. We did that when we was like 14 years old. Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
So the story was like, when we was like 14 or 15 years old, we got told by some older people that daddy long legs are the most venomous spider in the world. And if you take the legs off and you smoke them, then you get super high off of them. So we would gather them up and put them in a pipe and smoke them. It did not work, no.
Dude, it's a wonder that you're still with us today, honestly.
Yeah, it is.
I'm far gone from that lifestyle.
Oh, Landa made a good point. She said maybe it's something to do with like formaldehyde.
Embalming.
Or like all the embalming chemicals or something,
That actually makes sense.
But
Yeah,
that would be more the flesh.
Yeah. Well, I guess the bone.
Because he explained it to me. What they do is they drain all the blood out, and then it's not that much embalming fluid in the body. Like, I thought that they like kind of filled you up. It's not. It's like less than a liter of embalming fluid basically preserves the body.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know any of this stuff.
That shocks me too. We're gonna have to talk to this
first.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk to this guy.
Yeah, that's wild. I don't know. I'm far removed from my days, though. If anybody's out there listening, it's been over 20 years ago.
Oh yeah.
I don't even drink anymore.
Cecil's on the straight and narrow these days,
and I don't recommend doing any of it. It was a hard life.
Well, you were asking me about. I'll give you a couple of narcotic stories, and this one story had nothing to do with me being in narcotics. I worked in auto crime, and guy I worked with had an informant that was like in the eye of the hurricane up in Washington Heights. He was a Dominican guy, and he ran with the Dominican gang. Heavily involved in drugs, a lot of things they were involved in. And one afternoon, it was like summertime, 5, 6 o'clock, and we were up in the Bronx, and his informant called him up, and he says, you guys interested in, I forget if it was 4 or 5 kilos. I'm like, yeah. He goes, they just put it in a car. They put it in a trap, secret compartment of a minivan. He goes, here's the plate. It's got Rhode Island plates. It's on 168th Street. They're heading. They're going to Rhode Island like within the next 15 minutes. So like we fucking raced across the Bronx into Manhattan, right? Driving like maniacs, fucking sidewalk, right? Pull up to the block, and here comes a Ford Astro van. No, Chevy's an Astro van. What's the Ford? Aerostar?
I can't remember.
Little Ford van. Pulls off the block with the Rhode Island plate. Like, holy shit. So we pull the guy over, and the guy just starts sweating. And he's starting to sweat, and he's, with the driver's license and shit. And the informant told us the trap in the car was, so like the minivans, you pull open the sliding door, and there's a footstep. He goes, it's in the footstep. They built a like a box underneath it.
Wow.
So my partner stuck his head underneath, and he saw it was fucking tack welded, and he started fucking around. The trap was activated by, remember the old cars with the brights, was the foot pedal?
Yeah.
That button was attached to a cable that ran underneath the car. So when you pushed it, it went bink, and the thing popped open, and there was like 4 or 5 keys in there.
Wow.
So that had to be, that's not your like middle of the mall dealer then. That was like midway up the food chain or something, probably.
Well, drugs, I don't know about now, but like in the old days, the Colombians would bring the coke in, and it would go to Jackson Heights, Queens. And then they were the wholesalers. The Dominicans would purchase the coke from the Colombians and bring it to Washington Heights, and then it would start going out into New Jersey, into Connecticut, the 5 boroughs. So now we're on narcotic stories. I'm in auto crime. Major Case Narcotics calls us up and says, we got an informant. He's really good. He knows about a DMV employee up in Harlem that's pumping out driver's licenses. So you guys would go into DMV. He'll put you in touch with the clerk, and she'll forge the paperwork so you can be whoever you want to be. You still have to take the test and pass everything, but she's fugaziing the paperwork, and I can go into that whole scheme, how that works. But anyway, he tells us that his informant knows a couple of guys in DMV that are doing this shit.
Yeah.
Pouring rain. So we go up to Washington Heights, pouring rain. We get in the car with these 2 detectives from Major Case. We drive into the Bronx from Manhattan, and we pick up this Dominican kid. He gets in the back seat of the car with me and my sergeant, and he lays out exactly how the scam works. So we said, all right, if we bring an undercover to meet you, would you bring the undercover in, and our undercover will deal with the employees? He goes, absolutely. Home run. So the 2 detectives, they know this guy. They go, where do you want to go? He goes, bring me back into Manhattan. So we go back over the bridge, and we're underneath a train, an elevated train. It's pouring rain. And the detective goes, where do you want me to let you out? He goes, let me out here. No one's around. So the kid puts his hoodie on, opens the door, and walks out into the rain and vanishes, right? So the 2 detectives in the front seat, we're in the back seat, and they're like, what do you think? I said, I think it's a home run. Thank you so much. We got his number now. We'll call him up. We'll start the ball rolling with this, right? While we're talking, the detective in the front seat's cell phone rings. He goes, hold on a second. He picks up the phone, and it's the informant that we just dropped off 5 minutes earlier. And he says, right now, you see that guy walking past your car? Now it's pouring rain. This guy walks past our car on the sidewalk. He's got a hood on, and he's got a bag. He's carrying a bag that looks like takeout food, like wrapped up.
Yeah.
And we go, yeah. He goes, he looks like a Chinese delivery guy. I go, yeah, just walk past the car. He goes, he's a courier.
Oh, wow.
He goes, there's weight in that bag. He goes, follow him. He's making a drop. So we're like, oh, this is cool. So the 2 detectives ask us, they go, you guys mind hanging out with us? We're like, fuck yeah, let's do a rip. Let's grab this guy, right? So we follow the guy in the rain. He goes into this big Pathmark supermarket chain parking lot, walks into the parking lot. And the parking lot's packed. It's like 5, 6 o'clock at night. Goes to the back of a green Honda Accord, 4-door. Doesn't knock, just opens the back door and gets in with the bag. He's in there fucking 10, 15 seconds. He gets out of the car without the bag, and he starts walking off the set. So I go, you want me to follow him? I'll grab him. And they go, no, don't grab him. He goes, we'll get him later, because who knows if he saw the informant? Who knows if they passed each other? And he said, oh, yeah, hi, Julio. You know what I mean? He goes, let him go. We want what's in the bag. I said, all right. So parking lot's packed. with shoppers and shopping carts and fucking it's pouring rain. You don't want to get into an accident. You don't want to run anybody over, right? Car starts backing out of the spot. The two detectives cutting back of him. We cut him off, right? Fucking pull open the doors. It's a black guy, probably about 45 years old, and a black female, probably about the same age. Get them out of the car. We got him cuffed. We got him sitting on the sidewalk. In the bag, there's like, I forget, like a key. It was like a key or close to a key. And the two guys from Major Case are like, oh, fuck. And I go, what's wrong? And they go, our lieutenant gets pissed off if we take an arrest of under 2 keys. You guys want to take the arrest. So I looked at my sergeant and go, fuck yeah, I'll take this, right? And my sergeant goes, we're already on overtime. The lieutenant's going to throw a fucking shit fit if we have this late arrest, right? The female who's handcuffed goes, I can't believe this. She goes, you motherfuckers are arguing over who's taking us to jail.
Valid.
Those two were from Trenton, New Jersey, which is the state capital of New Jersey. They would, and we found out later on because the detectives debriefed them and everything. They would come once a month. They'd make a call. They'd order up a key or whatever. They would come, with $17,000 or $18,000. Guy would get in the car. They would give him the money. He'd step off, and then they would take the key back to Trenton.
I mean,
that's fucking time.
I mean, if I was in their situation, I heard y'all arguing, I'd be like, come on, guys. Let's get this over with.
Let's go to jail. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and go to jail.
Well, with that kind of weight,
yeah.
And it was in Manhattan. The Bronx is a circus. The Brooklyn is a circus. Manhattan, the borough of Manhattan, they would have done time. So immediately they started talking. And I think they were both ex-cons. So with the key, which is A1 weight, they might do 10 years.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And they're from New Jersey, and they would do time in New York State. They don't know anybody in New York, so they're gonna. I know for a fact they set up that guy. They probably had that. I can guarantee you, I know what happened, even though I don't know what happened. I can guarantee you, since they were such good customers, they ordered up 3 keys.
Mm.
And when fucking that kid come down, he got grabbed with 3 keys, and then that kid gave up the apartment or wherever the network is. You go up.
So how does that work? Like, okay, the people that got caught, if they end up going back and be like, hey, we'll set up as many as you want, we'll work with you. Do they get completely off the hook, or?
It depends on a lot of things. It depends on their record. Now, if you got a guy, let's say for argument's sake, that guy, right, the driver, let's say that guy has a previous conviction for manslaughter.
Yeah.
Killed somebody.
Yeah.
Robbery.
Yeah.
Guns. He's still going to do time. He might not do 10 years, and they might work out a deal where he can do his time in New Jersey. Maybe he'll do 3 years, 4 years, as opposed to getting 10 to life.
Yeah.
Lifetime parole after 10 years. So maybe they'll work something out with New Jersey. It just depends. But that informant, the wild thing about that informant, and did I tell you a story about the time he got us Mike Tyson's motorcycle?
No.
Now this shit's coming back to me. Whoever's watching this podcast, you got to pick up my books because all these stories are in my books.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
This informant calls us up one day, calls us up on a Monday, and he says, you're not going to believe this. I was out with Horatio the other day, and we're going down the West Side Highway, and we see Mike Tyson going down the West Side Highway with a Ducati. The Ducati is an Italian motorcycle, and 25 years ago when this happened, the Ducati probably was worth $35,000
at least.
Okay?
Shoo.
So he goes, we followed him down to the Javits Center in Lower Manhattan, which that's where they have concerts and well, not concerts, but like trade shows, the car show, the boat show. They watched Tyson park his motorcycle down there, sign some autographs, and go into the trade show. Horatio jumped on the back of Tyson's bike, broke the ignition, took off with the bike. I go, where's the bike? He goes, it's in his apartment. Now, people listening to this like, oh, bullshit, no. Washington Heights is a fucked up place. Everybody in the neighborhood is running some kind of scam. It would be nothing to see someone drive a motorcycle into a building, into an elevator, and go into an apartment. No one would blink. Take my word for it. So I says, great. Give us the address and Horatio's apartment. We're going to go down there and knock down his fucking door and take Horatio out and the bike. He goes, well, the bike's in pieces. I go, what do you mean it's in pieces? He goes, well, he took the bike apart. He's bubble wrapping it. He's going to put it in a crate and he's going to ship it to the Dominican Republic. He goes, he's got like 2 or 3 bikes in his house already, his apartment. He goes, I'll tell you what. He says, when the bikes are going to get shipped, I'll give you the shipping company and the shipping container. You can get them yanked right off the boat. I said, all right, we'll take this case with a shipping angle because we used to do that.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget, a month goes by and it was Sunday. I'm watching football. It was dead of winter. It was already dark out. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. My partner, that's his informant, calls me up and he goes, you want to make overtime? I go, what are you talking about? He goes, those bikes are getting shipped. I said, where, Newark or Red Hook, the ports? And he goes, Kennedy Airport. I go, what the fuck are you talking about? He goes, they're being airshipped.
Wow.
Oh, so I says, oh shit. So what we wound up happening was, went out to Kennedy Airport, went to the shipping company. Horatio showed up with 2 other guys with a stolen van, with 2 or 3 motorcycles in crates in the back. They took the seats out of the van, and we just fucking locked them up and took the bikes and called Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was pissed because we recovered the bike. So if you have comprehensive insurance and your car or motorcycle gets stolen, if it gets recovered within 30 days, you're getting it back.
Oh, no.
You'll pay for somebody to put it back together. Tyson didn't want the bike. Matter of fact, Tyson just wanted to go into the cells and beat their ass and be done with it. Like, no, you can't do that. But yeah, we got Mike Tyson stole a motorcycle back.
It takes some serious balls to watch Mike Tyson hop off a motorcycle and then hop on it and leave.
Can you imagine?
Like if he would have came out in that moment.
That story's in my book, Grand Theft Auto, the NYPD's Auto Crime Division. I'll tell these stories, and I don't remember which book they're in, but that one I remember, Mike Tyson.
That brings up something that I was going to ask you is, you always tell us about the inspiration for your books. Like, what inspired you? Like, you just had the thought one day to like, let's talk about let's get into the dysfunction that you experienced while you were there. Like the thought that you had for the book.
Yeah. Well, when I retired, I was bored out of my mind, and I thought about writing a biography, and I said, nah, I don't know if I can go there. I don't want to get anybody divorced. I don't want to get anyone in trouble. I waited a while since the statute of limitations for crimes have expired. And what I did was I just started writing short stories together, stringing them along. And listen, I had a great career. I'm not one of these where, I was picked on, I got an axe to grind with somebody. None of that. I had a great career. The New York City Police Department was great to me. Had a wonderful career. It's enabled me to have a second career. But there is a lot of fucked up and dysfunctional things that go on in there. I try to make light of it. You know what I mean? As far as I'm making a joke out of it, but these things did happen, but I don't name names. I change the locations, the ranks, the dates. Sometimes the sexes, I'll say it was a female cop, or it was a male cop, or a male cop, or a female cop. I really don't want to get too close to the target. But
yeah, understandable.
Yeah, I'm not one to like fucking out somebody. That's just not my thing. I had a great career. I really don't want to fuck someone else's life up, even if I didn't like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be like Joe was fucking this hooker.
No. But what's funny is I'll write these books and my friends start reading them like, I know who you're talking about,
Well, Vic, with some of the crimes, how high up the food chain did some of this stuff go? Like with the drugs coming in and the cars and all the other stuff, without naming any names or anything like that. I mean,
what do you mean, like how?
Like, did you ever get like bosses or anything like that? Like,
well, we did mob cases.
Ooh.
We did mafia cases. So the auto crime division is 120 detectives. The main office, or I used to call the mothership, the Queens office in the borough of Queens had the Queens team, the Brooklyn team, a lot of the specialty teams. I worked in a satellite office in the Bronx, but our Queens team would do mafia cases, a lot of them. And one of the cases they did, they caught John Gotti's son-in-law. So, I was a bit player on that case. Like I was a tambourine player on that band. But what they did was there's a section of Queens called Willets Point, and it's right next to where the Mets play now. I don't even know it used to be Shea Stadium. And right next to Shea Stadium was this neighborhood, and it was all body shops, junkyards, glass places, engines. So you needed a part for a car or body work or anything with a vehicle. It was in this neighborhood, and there was hundreds of places. Well, John Gotti's son-in-law ran it. So if you three guys own 3 separate businesses, every month you were kicking money up to Carmine.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, you were going to have a problem. So what our Queens team did was they rented out an abandoned junkyard. They filled it with car parts. They put a trailer in it. They wired it up like a studio. And they thought that Carmine was going to send, a couple of guys in there to threaten our detectives. Well, Carmine showed up, and he starts threatening our guys. And, who the fuck are you? You got to pay me every month. You just can't come in here. So our detectives started paying him every month. They were getting involved with scams and insurance scams and all sorts of shit. And when they took that case down, John Gotti's son-in-law wound up getting 8 or 9 years.
Wow. That's crazy.
So I'd say that's pretty high up the food chain to grab John Gotti's son-in-law. Now, the crazy thing about that story is our Queens office didn't do that federally. They did that case with the Queens District Attorney's Office. So let's say it's November or December. The plan was to take that case down in January. Well, like in November, December, the FBI catches wind of our case. And they've got this little pop gun fart tax evasion case against him where he's only going to do a couple of years. And they hear about our case, and they went to the detectives handling our case and said, hey, why don't we do this? And we're like, no, we don't need you. We've already got this thing sewn up. So a story is leaked that there's a case going on against Carmine. So now all of a sudden he gets raised up. Who? Now all of a sudden he's calling in his underlings. You better not fucking talk. If you get a subpoena, you better not talk. He's getting everybody in line. So he calls in 2 businessmen that he does business with. They're not mobsters, but they're shady. Yeah. And he calls them out. He's got a scrap metal processor in the Bronx. He calls these 2 guys in. While they're in his building and he's smacking them around and threatening them, he had their cars crushed into little cubes. So when they came outside after getting their asses kicked, their cars were cubes. They were little, crushed.
Oh, wow.
Well, that definitely makes a point.
Yeah.
So what's like peak, to get back to the question, like what's peak dysfunction? Like if you're thinking about it, like
you could be doing God's work. You could be working on the most sensitive case. You could be working on that case, or I worked on a case where they were shipping cars to China, and you're following people around and you're working, and you're so into this case, and your sergeant will come up to you and hand you a slip of paper and go, tomorrow you got to be in Brooklyn. There's a newspaper strike in uniform, or New Year's Eve. We call it, they throw you in the bag. The bag is the uniform. So you could be working on a really sensitive case. You got a million things going. Guess what? You got to go out to Brooklyn tomorrow at 4:00 in the morning to babysit a bunch of fucking discontents that are striking or protesting. They really kick you in the ass. Or the dysfunction too with the drug testing. So the NYPD, we have random drug testing. Now they take your hair, but in the old days you had to piss in a cup. And they usually would test about 20 NYPD members a day, maybe more. And what happens is every morning a teletype goes out to every command with a list of 20 people, and it goes to your command, and you get a phone call. So like you'll get a phone call, hey Vic, you got dole today. You got to go out to left rack. So you got to stop what you're doing go out to Queens, go to health services, and piss in a cup. Now, if you don't show up by midnight, you're out of a job. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear someone didn't tell you. You're fired. It's just it's 0, 0, 0 tolerance. So one time, I was in another jurisdiction. I was in another county. We were doing a joint case with another jurisdiction. I was 30 miles out of New York City, and I was on a wiretap, and it was about 9 o'clock at night. And I called our Queens office to sign out, and they go, "Did you?" Now I had already worked like 12 hours, and I'm 30 miles out of the city. And thank God the detective that was going to sign me off goes, "Vic, did you get Dole? They call it Dole. It's called the Dole test."
Yeah.
I don't know why I meant Mr. Dole pineapple. But they go, "Hey, Vic, did you get Dole today?" And I go, "Fuck you talking about?" He goes, you got like 2 hours or 3 hours. Had to fucking drive from White Plains all the way through the Bronx, all the way to Queens. I mean, I didn't get home till midnight. But had that guy not brought that up, I would have been out of a job because some moron forgot to tell me that morning.
That's wild.
Yeah,
You're asking about like dysfunction.
that part's crazy because
That's
people could like needlessly lose their job over that.
Yeah, if somebody don't like you and they're the ones in charge of telling you, they just don't fucking tell you.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That's nuts. I'd do that to Tully.
Probably that's something that Cecil would do.
Like, I'll shut it, tell you.
Yeah, my bad.
Sorry about that.
How many people are watching this live?
970.
Yeah, we've had 970 pop in. Twitter's kind of weird, but
Hey, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, these books, I was keeping up with them pretty good, and then I don't know what happened. I need to catch up.
I'm just happy to be it. I appreciate it.
we should reach out more often. It's been too long since the last time we had you on. There's too many things that I personally want to ask. I know, Steven, you probably want to ask a bunch of stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
So it's hard to get a foot in with Cecil yapping.
My bad.
Oh man, it's been a lot of fun though. I mean, this right here, Vic, I'm from rural Arkansas, so I couldn't imagine what New York City would be like. So hearing your stories and stuff, everything you went through, growing up there and everything else, that's fascinating to me because I can't hardly imagine what it would be like, for all the people, for all the chaos that's around you all the time when you were there.
Yeah. Sometimes I can't believe it. It's sometimes I just sit there and I'm like, I can't fucking believe, like, I've done these things and seen these things, it's, but that's what I wanted. You know what I mean? So I got no regrets. I asked for it.
Yeah. Just to be in the thick of it. But people should definitely buy the book. Like, if you've listened up to this point, you gotta buy the book because it's hilarity ensues.
Yeah.
With Vic.
There's a bunch to pick from.
Yeah.
And your storytelling, I mean, it's so captivating. That's the first thing that from the first episode that we did with you 5 years ago. I was like, this guy is awesome. You're
the real deal, Vic.
I was.
Well, no, even like with your writing, like you go from stories like this, like in your most recent book, to the confessions book, where there's a lot of humility that goes into that, like to be able to talk about yourself.
Chased out of a confessional and stuff.
Yeah.
That fucking priest beat the shit out of me.
Like I don't know. I just think you're talented, or people wouldn't be listening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what's crazy about my childhood? It kind of dovetails into my NYPD career. I went to a high school that basically was a civil service academy. I mean, I went to a Catholic high school, but out of a graduating class of 240 boys, because I went to a all boys Catholic high school. 40 guys became NYPD cops. And the year before that, and the year before that, and the year after that. So that really helped my assimilation because I knew people. I grew up with people that, and I'd run into them in the Bronx. And like, just to give you an example, like the New York City Police Department has 77 police stations. Wow. Just uniform cop police. I'm not talking about specialized units or 77 police stations spread out across the New York City's 5 boroughs, and the Bronx had 12. And I knew it. I knew guys in every precinct. This guy used to be the bartender that we used to, when we were kids. This guy, used to be my mailman. Now he's a cop. So it really, growing up in the Bronx and going to that high school really made life easy for me. Getting, you know what I mean? Like picking up speed.
It was like a direct funnel into,
funnel. Yeah, well said. Definitely.
You know that we do conspiracies and stuff, and that just drove me down a strange rabbit hole in my own head. I don't know why I think about things like this. Like, do you think that school was designed to push you all into?
No, it's a bunch of guys that didn't want to go to college.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
In my neighborhood growing up, right? My neighborhood was mostly Irish and Italian.
Yeah.
And I'm both. I'm half Irish, I'm half Italian. So I could hang out with the Irish kids just as well as I could hang out with the Italian kids. You know what I mean? Like my mom and my dad, like just their backgrounds, it just was so easy for me to make friends and just, hang out. And that high school, so to get into Catholic high school in those days from public school, you had to take it was like the NFL draft. You had to take a test, a placement test. And then the Catholic high schools would send you invitations to stop by and interview you. And you had Spelman and Fordham Prep. Those were like, I wasn't getting into those. You know what I mean? And then I didn't want to go to Helena's or Scanlon because those were more business schools. So I kind of landed balls dead center in the middle. And like I said, and the guys that didn't go civil service, that didn't become firemen, mailmen, cops. There was some that went to college, but a lot of them worked for the utilities, the phone company, cable company, things like that. I don't think it was a conspiracy. I think we were just done with school.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame Cecil for saying that because we get a lot of conspiracy folks coming through, and they talk about like the GATE programs, like the gifted and talented programs being a sort of a litmus test for agencies, like the alphabet agencies.
I believe that.
And it's really weird. Like we had a weird childhood growing up too. Like Cecil and I went to grade school together. Yeah. And we were in a school of the future.
That's what they called it.
Very, very bizarre school. It didn't have walls. And all of your classes were kind of like in the beginning, it was like a big circular room where one instructor would be in the middle and all the kids just sat in a circle. And sometimes you were at headphones, sometimes you wouldn't.
Sounds like an experiment.
It was wild. It was wild. And it got more normal later on. Like they put up bookcases to kind of warden off classrooms.
The bookcases, though, were about 4 feet tall. So you'd be listening to math right here. And then right here would be the English teacher. And right here would be the geology teacher. Yeah. So you'd be hearing all of it at once.
Like sometimes one of the teachers would get mad and start screaming, and everybody would just kind of look over like, "What's?"
Yeah, it sounds like an experiment. It sounds like they were experimenting.
Well, the craziest thing is, like, I was explaining like what we did at recess to somebody that was in the military one day, and he's like, "Man, that's what they do in the military." Because they would make us run up this hill, see who could roll down it the fastest, and then run back up it. We even had the tires that you would skip through. And if you got in trouble, you had to stand at recess the whole time with your arms like this, about this far from the wall.
Yeah, we had to do that.
Wall. And if you touched the wall, you had to do it again the next day. And my favorite thing about it was if you told on somebody, you get in more trouble, and you had to wear a sign that said tattletale.
Yeah, we like my class didn't have to wear the sun, but if you narked on somebody, you went to the wall with them.
Yeah.
So it was definitely, it felt experimental, and a few years after we left, they abandoned it. Like they abandoned it completely and sold it, ended up becoming a church.
Yeah. And the craziest thing about that school was you either came out of it a complete delinquent. Like I've got a few friends that I went to grade school with that are dead and like murdered, and or you came out like extremely brilliant. And then there were some that fell in between, like me. Tully's actually really smart.
Well, we do know people who are doctors. There was one dude, he was actively being recruited by the FBI at one point, and he's like, absolutely not.
Yeah, he scored a perfect score on every test.
Really?
Oh yeah, all the ACT, SAT. Like, I've got a buddy that's a doctor now. He scored one question from perfect on those tests.
Yeah. But the guy that scored perfect, he ended up being crazy, and he passed away from the flu.
Yeah, it was kind of bizarre.
Yeah,
he had a weird story. But yeah, I think that's why Cecil was asking. Like, if he saw, Landa, that is why we're crazy. But yeah, that's why we were asking about that, I think.
Yeah, it just seemed like, hey, that's similar to us.
yeah.
But I mean that's wild, and I really enjoy you every time you come on here. And I mean, we don't have to wrap up. I don't have anything else to do. It's up to you guys. I just don't have any more questions tonight. I've worked all day. I'm killed.
Maybe we got to have. Let's do one more dealer's choice, Vic.
My wife is in there screaming right now. If you hear her, I'm assuming something happened on SummerSlam. She's in there watching wrestling.
I'll leave you guys with this, and this story is in my last book. So you know who Dee Snider from Twisted Sister is?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm towards the end of my NYPD career, like probably my 18th year, and I get a phone call from this district attorney in Manhattan, and all this guy does is homicide investigator, and I had done a case with him. I wasn't a homicide detective, but we had a case that turned into a homicide. Anyway, he reaches out to me one day and he says, "Can you do me a favor?" I said, "Sure, what's up?" He goes, "I got this case and I got a guy. He's a suspect in a homicide and he's missing," which is odd. And I go, "Well, don't you have Manhattan South Homicide looking for him?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "And the FBI is interested in this too." I go, "So what do you need me for?" He goes, "Because you're good at finding people, and I don't want if I can get this guy arrested, the FBI might not be able to take the case away from me." So I says, "Well, what happened?" So it's a wild story. So you got these guys, these 4 or 5 guys out in Long Island, and they're robbing banks, armored cars. They're not mob, but they're badasses. They own a gym, steroids, and they're taking down armored cars and banks. So they robbed this armored car, and one of the guys during the armored car robbery panics and kills one of the drivers. Shoot. The leader of the gang is pissed at this guy for doing it, and he thinks that he might talk. So what he does is, the leader of this gang, this guy, his last name is Christian Tarantino. He lures this guy to a garage, kills him, puts his body in like a tool chest, puts him on a boat, takes him out into the Long Island Sound. Well, not the Sound. Takes him out of the ocean and dumps the tool chest. But you got to gut somebody when you dump them, because if you don't, the gases fill up, the tool chest popped up, they find the body.
It was enough to pull the tool chest up?
Yeah, you bloat and you float.
But you would think something that heavy would keep you down.
No. So what happens is, now you got one armored car guy dead. The guy that pulled the trigger, now he's dead, right? Dee Snider from Twisted Sister has a brother-in-law who's involved with these guys somehow. I don't know if he's doing the bank robberies, but he's involved with them. And he knows about the homicide. I don't know if he was involved in the robbery, but he knows about it. He goes to this guy, Tarantino, and he says, tries to extort him. He says, listen, I want my cut, or I'm going to go to the FBI and I'm going to tell them. So Tarantino's like, okay, let me see what I can do. Tarantino owns a gym. Tarantino gets this guy that works in his gym, this guy, Justin Bressman. He says, I'll give you $30,000 if you kill Dee Snider from Twisted Sister's brother-in-law. Okay. Now, Dee Snider from Twisted Sister's brother-in-law operates a crane on a construction site in Lower Manhattan. So what Bressman does is Bressman gets up early one morning, knows this guy's routine, knows the guy stops for breakfast and gets a coffee every morning, comes out of this diner before going to the construction site. As this guy is coming out, he sees Bressman. He knows him. He goes, what are you doing here? He goes, and he goes, the guy goes to put down his lunch pail or whatever. Bressman pulls out a silencer-equipped pistol and shoots him in the face a couple of times. Yeah. Guy falls backwards. Bressman walks away. That's 3 dead people, right? Right? So Bressman is a suspect in this homicide, but now he vanishes. And I'm asking the district attorney before I go looking for this guy, tell me the story. He goes, all I know is he's vanished, and his father is telling anyone that'll listen, my son's dead, my son's dead. He goes, I don't know if that's a ruse, like the son went out and took off, is in hiding, and they're pretending he's dead. I said, all right, well, let me see what I can do. Well, Bressman was from the Bronx. Bressman's car turns up burned in Brooklyn. No evidence, right?
Yeah.
Credit cards, phones, nothing. And this wasn't my case. And I spent about 2 weeks on it. And I called the guy up and I go, Bill, I says, he's either very disciplined and has people behind him that are hiding him because he hasn't been seen. Nothing. Credit cards, phone, nothing. I go, the car's burned, or he's dead. And from what you are telling me, people around this case are dropping like flies. So he goes, good enough. I appreciate it. Thank you, right? So I retire from the NYPD. Bill retires from district attorney's office. So I'm writing this book, and I'm like, whatever happened to Justin Bressman? This is 17 years later. I'm like, whatever happened to that? Well, nowadays, you can Google. I pull up the article. And the FBI locked up this guy, Tarantino, and they charged him and got convictions on the murder of the armored car driver. They got a conviction on the guy he dumped overboard in the tool chest. They got him for conspiracy to kill Justin Bressman because he had approached someone else and made the same offer, which they would have been dead. This fucking guy ties up loose ends like...
Yeah.
They got him for the conspiracy to kill Justin Bressman, but he was acquitted of the murder of Justin Bressman. So he got life, and the guy has either Lou Gehrig's now or Parkinson's disease, and the judge really tore into him at the sentencing. And I don't understand his mindset. He would not come clean and give up what happened to this guy, Justin Bressman. Denied everything, denied all the murders, denied everything, because his angle is he's hoping to get out on an appeal, but he won't.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what happened to Justin Bressman.
Wow.
That's nuts.
I found out 17 years later when I was writing the book.
That's so crazy. Wow.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Go ahead, Stephen.
That's wild right there. Yeah, it's I can't. I'm sure I would ask you another question. It's what you talked about how crazy it was. At Times Square and stuff like that. It's that was some inside. That was the inside scoop on that right there. I've only ever seen it, from TV, and it. I didn't consider things like that and how the people were just packed in like cattle.
Oh, they're getting felt up, thrown up on, pissed on.
Yeah.
Pockets. You fucking name it. It's going on in there.
Yeah. It's I can only imagine. Did you ever get stuck on any whenever presidents or anybody like that would be traveling through town, get stuck on the details.
I did dignitary protection. I took a special course.
Yeah.
The NYPD runs that. I don't know how it's run now, but it's almost like Mission Impossible. So what'll happen is you go through all this training, and then what'll happen is you'll get a notification one day. Dignitary escort tomorrow. Be at the BAT, which is the Brooklyn Army Terminal. We would go. You never knew who you were working with. You would drive. You'd have to be out in the asshole end of Brooklyn first thing in the morning. Go into like a factory. It looked like a factory. And you go up an elevator, and your name would be on a board. It would say Ferrari Smith. And, Detective Smith would be there from another unit. Sometimes you'd be working there with another guy from your unit. You get an accordion envelope with a radio, a set of keys for a car downstairs. You get the guy's itinerary, and you get the liaison from either the State Department or the Secret Service who was guarding him. And a lot of times it would be, all right, you're going to the St. Regis Hotel. The president of Sylvania is staying there. So we start heading into Manhattan, right? And you pick up the phone and you call up this agent from the State Department who's doing the midnight shift. He's outside this guy's door. And I'm like, yeah, we're coming down now, blah, blah, blah. This is Detective Ferrari. Okay. One of us would go inside. How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And they'd hand us off to that guy. And then we would follow, whenever that guy, if he's going to the UN a lot of times, sometimes they're going to the fucking opera. Sometimes one time I said the president of Slovenia is making a joke. I was with that guy before he left the country, before we took him to JFK. He stopped at Barney's, which is a very expensive clothing store. And he spent $20,000 on hand-painted ties.
What?
That's crazy,
Oh,
dude.
the UN, it's a fucking. Don't get me started with the UN and all that bullshit. Like, we could go on and on and on about that. There was another fucking guy. It was the prime minister of, I forget which island, Saint something. The guy shows up with his wife and his pregnant girlfriend, who's also his secretary. Make this shit up, right? We dropped them off at the hotel. Then we go with him up to Harlem because he's got a girlfriend. I mean, this guy's dick never slept, right? Then he hooks up with the girlfriend, right? Then we go to Brooklyn. This motherfucker, he owns buildings in Brooklyn. He's a slumlord. He's the prime minister of Saint something, and we're in Brooklyn, and he's collecting rent and talking to the super of the building like, yeah, this guy's got a leaky pipe. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And I gotta protect this guy.
Oh, good night. Oh.
You need to make your fucking
Prime Minister.
It took me out.
Wow.
You need to make a fucking shirt that says "This dick never sleeps."
Oh man, that took me out, Vic. That took me out.
I feel like I threw a fucking grenade at the three.
You did, man. I wasn't expecting that. That's gold right there.
Oh man. Oh.
Oh wow.
That's good.
That's why a pregnant girlfriend they go to the funds. They collect rent. So it's that's insane.
Oh man.
Wow.
That was a great grand finale.
I appreciate it.
We can call it there. All right. So the man's name's Vic Ferrari. He's got a podcast on YouTube called NYPD Through the Looking Glass podcast.
If you're on audio only, go into the description. The link to Vic's books, the link to Vic's social media is in there. Please support Vic because this is history.
Fucking treasures.
Absolutely.
National history.
Let me know when you want to do this again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll have to do it sooner for sure because we talk to so many crazy people, Vic.
Yeah.
You're one of our only normal people that we get to talk to.
For the newest book, for all you only users, it's a NYPD Presumption of Dysfunction by Vic Ferrari on Amazon, and he's got a bunch on for sale on there, and it's not going to break the bank. They're only $10 each, so go out there and buy them. I need to.
You was charging more with those stories, Vic.
Yes.
Should be charging a little bit more. I can't finish. We got serious shit to talk about.
The viewer count's going down. Hurry.
All right. Go to
Did it go down?
a little bit.
We broke 1,000 and now it's back down to 999.
So go and support 4rbs.com using the promo code WITF. They are on a good mission to try to restore bee health. It's some of the best honey you can get. It doesn't register any pesticides or anything like that, like the majority of your honey does nowadays.
Right.
And they got some sales on there that I don't know.
What's cool is like when you buy the honey, they're giving other beekeepers access to these magnetic cells that are helping their bees from like keeping them from deteriorate.
Yeah.
The honey's comparable to all other honey processes. It's never heated up. It doesn't test positive, like Cecil said, for glyphosate, which is in literally everything. It's Roundup. So 4RBs, and you can use promo code WITF, get you some honey. We're going to be eating some. We were joking last night because like we get pitched with different people to sell stuff, and we were like, we don't really want to sell like Blue Chew or something like that to our audience. And somebody commented last night and was like, you should do Blue Chew and the honey. I was like, yeah, we can dip the Blue Chews in honey, and you guys can come in and say, are you hardly working or working while hard?
Give that to the fucking Prime Minister of Saint whatever.
And again,
That's what it reminded me of.
That fucking guy.
So tune in every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern on every platform that you can get on. Totally literally has us everywhere. And thank you all for watching us, because we are watching you.
Peace.